Tottenham are in advanced talks with former Napoli and Fiorentina manager Gennaro Gattuso following today's snubbing of Paulo Fonseca, who we all felt was destined to be the next manager of Spurs. It has been yet another crazy, crazy day in Tottenham's pursuit to replace Jose Mourinho. We were waiting on Wednesday for the announcement of Paulo Fonseca, and here we are on the 17th of June, a Thursday, almost 2 months following the dismissal of Jose Mourinho, and we're hearing that Gennaro Gattuso is now is leading the race to be Tottenham's next manager. This is Fabrizio Romano, Gianluca Di Marzio, Alistair Gold. It's everywhere. I don't think we can sit here right now and confidently say he will be the next manager at Tottenham, because 2 days ago we were doing that with Paulo Fonseca. But the latest news is from Fabrizio Romano that Tottenham are in advanced talks with Gennaro Gattuso, and Gianluca Di Marzio has even gone so far as to suggest that we are actually close to agreeing a deal with Gattuso on a 2-year contract to see him become the next manager of Spurs. Look, we're going to talk about the stories that have come out. We're going to look at what Alistair Gold has had to say, Romano, Di Marzio. We're also going to look at why Gattuso is absolutely not the man for Spurs, not just in footballing terms, but in so much more. We're going to talk everything you need to know about this deal. We're going to be joined later on by Danny Kiriakou, the Bun, and Henry Wright as well, and maybe a few others as we continue to digest this news this Thursday evening. And look, we'll go right back to the start, and it started today with Fabrizio Romano letting us know at about 3:30. I put up a quick video on this, but I had to go to work since hence the late stream. And Fabrizio Romano tweeted at about 3:30 today, "Incredible Tottenham again. There are huge fiscal problems to complete the appointment of Fonseca as new manager, despite verbal agreement completed and contract set to be signed as reported on Di Marzio. That's why Fonseca has not signed with Spurs yet." Now, since that came out, it does appear as though that is not entirely true. These fiscal problems maybe are a reason why this deal was delayed, or a reason why this wasn't announced yesterday, as Di Marzio had initially reported. These fiscal reasons, essentially what it was, is he had some tax loopholes almost in his contract in Italy, and those were not fully, he couldn't get those in the UK, so there were some discrepancies there in terms of money and things like that. Now, that tweet from Romano was at about 3:25. Just after 3:30, he said, Tottenham are not intentioned to cover the economic difference on fiscal side with Fonseca. He was set to sign after contract verbally agreed. It was done, but talks have now broken down. Tottenham's search now restarted. Jorge Mendes will try with Gattuso, and it rapidly progressed from there. Before 4 o'clock, Paulo Fonseca to Tottenham is 100% off. Deal collapsed because of taxes issues despite contract already completed and set to be signed. Fonseca had tax advantages from an Italian law which is not applicable in the UK. Spurs in talks with Gattuso now, as per Di Marzio. And then it continued 4:30. So all of this happening within an hour. Gennaro Gattuso now leading the never-ending race to join Tottenham. Talks progressing. He parted ways with Fiorentina after only 22 days because he wanted to sign some players from his agent Jorge Mendes to improve the team, but the club was not convinced. And therein lies the first big problem that Spurs had with this appointment. Look, set aside the past failings he's had in terms of not getting AC Milan to the Champions League, then last season not getting Napoli to the Champions League. He left Fiorentina this morning. This Thursday morning, he left Fiorentina just 22 days after joining the club. And as Romano said there, he left because the board weren't entirely convinced that they wanted to bring in players who were managed by Jorge Mendes, Gattuso's agent. And because of that, he walked. He left the club just 22 days later. So essentially, since we sacked Jose Mourinho, Gattuso has left 2 managerial jobs. He was sacked from Napoli at the end of the season. They drew 1-1 at home to Hellas Verona on the final day of the season, which kept them out of next season's Champions League. He was gone from there, took over the job of Fiorentina, and look, we all know what happened there. Left after just 22 days. And that is, in some regard, where the discrepancies between Alistair Gold and Fabrizio Romano come in on this one. And the one way I'm looking at this is the fact that Fabrizio Romano and Alistair Gold, between them, aren't entirely sure what is going on. I think that tells you all you need to know about this current situation. The two of them, the best sources, simply do not know what is happening right now. Alistair Gold, he first chimed in on this one at it was 4:10, so about 30 minutes after the initial news broke. He said, "So as I understand it, but let's be honest, it could change again because it's Spurs. Gennaro Gattuso was Fabio Paratici's preferred choice, and he wanted him before he left, at Juventus before he left, but he wasn't available for Tottenham." So we've heard all along that this is the third time we've heard this is Fabio Paratici's first choice. Initially, we heard that Pochettino was being kind of courted by Spurs And due to his the relationship failings with him and Leonardo, the sporting director of PSG, Spurs were then going to bring in Fabio Paratici to give Pochettino that sporting director he wanted, to try and convince him to come to Spurs. However, he wouldn't publicly announce his desire to leave PSG, so we turned our attentions away from him, and Fabio Paratici then suggested Antonio Conte. So there it was. Paratici's first choice was Conte. We all know what happened there. It broke down with kind of both sides pulling out of the deal in the end. And then out of nowhere, Paulo Fonseca is in advanced talks. He's set to be the new manager. Fantastic. He's Paratici's first choice is what we were told. Paratici wanted him at Juventus, this, that, likes the way he played at Roma. And he was the first choice. Good, we're getting the first choice. Then all of a sudden, Fonseca out of absolutely nowhere falls apart, and we want Gennaro Gattuso. And then Alistair Gold comes out with this, and no disrespect to Alistair Gold. Alistair Gold has done a fantastic job in covering all of this and keeping us up to date. But it just seems as though Paratici doesn't know who his number one choice is. So what he said is Gennaro Gattuso is Fabio Paratici's preferred choice. But he wasn't available. So Fonseca became the available top choice. Everything was agreed between him and Spurs. This again according to Gold. Even yesterday, on Wednesday, they were sorting stuff for his visa and all of the administrative stuff. Paratici and Fonseca had meetings this week in Milan and Como to prepare for the season ahead. Everything was going through. Then Gattuso left Fiorentina today, and everything has gone haywire, and Spurs have now switched their attentions to him. Fonseca's people are completely bewildered. A day in the life of covering Tottenham for you there. So a bizarre, crazy turn here today. I'm Alric Stewart. Thank you very much for subscribing. It really has come out of nowhere. And again, Fonseca was a done deal. We reported on Tuesday, as per Alistair Gold, that the deal could potentially be delayed due to travel restrictions that could see Fonseca need to quarantine for 10 days when he arrived in the UK. So, the whole kind of getting things done at the training ground, the interview, meeting the players and all that was going to be delayed. So maybe it was going to be the end of next week before we actually got that announcement. Fonseca then headed off on holidays to Ukraine, which confused me a bit because I thought if he was going to have 10 days to quarantine, just get him there as soon as possible. And then, we can get the ball rolling earlier next week. His wife even put up on Instagram talking about having to move house again and this and that and everything, say we're ready for a new challenge and all that. And as Gola said, up until this morning, Fonseca was going to be the new manager of Spurs. But Gattuso decided to leave Fiorentina after just 22 days. And here we are this evening, and he's the favourite. As you can see beside me, odds very, very short with Sky Bet, Paddy Power and Betfair, the only betting sites that are actually offering a market on this manager at the moment. It's, as Kieran says, we are a joke of a club. And when Alistair Gold was even coming out and saying, what the hell, Fabrizio Romano was calling it incredible from Tottenham again. It's hard to gauge what is happening, and it's really, really hard to gauge where this is actually going to go. Let's dive into the live chat and see what people are saying. The Batman says, sack Mourinho for an attacking manager with no locker room baggage, but got exact opposite. Spurs are an embarrassment. And this is, I tweeted this out earlier about, exactly what Gennaro Gattuso is. And I said he's essentially a bad version of Antonio Conte. I'll just get the tweet now, get it word for word. Alistair Gold has just tweeted there again. We'll bring you that one in a second. But I said Gennaro Gattuso seems like a bad version of Antonio Conte. He's impulsive and rash in nature, but doesn't have the quality in any other department that would allow you to overlook his flaws. So we know Conte is abrupt. We know he's rash, he's impulsive. The last 4 clubs he's been at, he's walked for different reasons. But the difference there is he's won the league in 5 out of the 7 seasons he's managed. He is a very successful and very good manager for Spurs. So you could see the kind of reasoning behind that. There was that, I think as Alistair Gold tweeted earlier, you could see where Spurs were then going with the Fonseca appointment. And again, we just ended up with this. But the point of that really, I think Gattuso is simply a bad version of Antonio Conte. If you took Conte and you separated all his good traits and his bad traits, the bad traits are what we're getting in Gennaro Gattuso. We'll take a quick look at his previous career in management in a second, but Alistair Gold has just tweeted in the last couple of minutes. He said, escape to play some football tonight after another mad day covering Tottenham Hotspur and returned to my phone to see hashtag no to Gattuso trending. Just when I thought I'd seen it all in the past 2 years or so, Spurs really uniting the fans at least, but not in the way they envisioned. Spurs said, or there was talk that Spurs had been surprised by the backlash of the Paulo Fonseca news when that initially broke, but that was nothing. And I mean nothing compared to what is going on on Twitter right now. We're going to get the story from Gianluca Di Marzio, and then we'll dive a bit more into what Alistair Gold had to say. But Di Marzio said today, steps forward between Gennaro Gattuso and Tottenham. Talks are advancing. The English club having skipped the negotiations with Paulo Fonseca, have targeted the Italian coach for next season. The parties are close based on a 2-year contract proposed by Spurs to the former Napoli coach. After the termination with Fiorentina 23 days after signing, Gennaro Gattuso could immediately restart from the Premier League in the next season. So Gianluca Di Marzio there saying a deal is perhaps a lot closer than we had been told, and a lot closer than we had expected. Jack Hughes says, Matty, it's plain and simple. Gattuso is the cheaper option. Fonseca wanted to push for top 4, while Gattuso will settle for a top 7 finish with minimal investment. Another very, very good point there. Marco says, I was warming to Fonseca, but Spurs are a box of tricks and pull this stunt off. We're in this mess for sacking Poch and not backing him. And I absolutely agree with you on that one. Now, the chat is flying. If you do want to guarantee your chats are read out, please do send in a super chat. It's a good way to support the channel. And like I said, I'll be guaranteed to get your comments. Hit like in the stream as well if you are enjoying it. Let's see if we can get to 100 likes. There's over 300 people watching and only 62 likes, so I guarantee we can get there. And as well, do hit that subscribe button if you are new and you want more on this deal and the transfer market in the coming days and coming weeks. But look, at this rate, anything a journalist says, it's so hard to take it seriously, because we just simply do not know where Spurs are going to go with things. And from what I've heard, the people within the club right up to the very top are absolutely shocked and have been left speechless by the change of heart from Fabio Paratici this morning. Right up to the people below Daniel Levy, they did not know this was coming, and they are in as much shock as we are. And I think that tells you everything you need to know about this club and the way we're bringing this one. Now let's dive a bit deeper into that story from Alistair Gold. He said Tottenham Hotspur's search for the new head coach has taken a sudden twist, with talks ending with Paulo Fonseca and instead switching to Gennaro Gattuso. Gattuso left Fiorentina on Thursday, and that played its part in a series of events. That saw talks with Fonseca, which ran an advanced stage, suddenly broken off. Those in Fonseca's camp told Football.London that everything had been agreed between Tottenham and the Portuguese this week. On Wednesday, the 48-year-old's visa and administrative work had been being processed for his move to the UK, and earlier in the week, Fonseca held face-to-face talks with Spurs' new managing director of football, Fabio Paratici, in both Milan and in Como to prepare for the season ahead and discuss potential transfers. Fonseca then travelled for a short break in Ukraine, where his TV presenter wife Katerina is from. As I said, she Instagrammed saying they're looking forward to this new adventure. She told her Instagram followers this week, there we go, that she had, quote, butterflies in my stomach because the new page begins. Fonseca and his family were preparing to fly over to the UK before the end of this month. Then, Fonseca was suddenly informed that the deal was off. There were believed to be some Italian tax issues involved in hiring the former Roma and Shakhtar Donetsk man, but both sides of the deal claim the finances were not the reason behind the dramatic withdrawal. So there we have it. It's a bizarre situation that we're sitting here saying Fabrizio Romano may have been wrong on this one. Both sides of the deal, both from Fonseca and from Tottenham, are saying that the deal ending finances were not the reason behind the dramatic withdrawal. It believed that about turn. I'm not sure what Goal is trying to say there. Basically, it's believed that this turn was made because Gattuso left Fiorentina just 23 days after being appointed there. It is understood that Paratici is an admirer of Gattuso, who led Napoli to win the Coppa Italia in 2020, but was sacked this season after the club missed out on Champions League qualification on the final day of the campaign. When word that Gattuso could suddenly become available, and that proved to be the case on Thursday, that forced a sudden change in direction, and Spurs broke off the talks with Fonseca and instead switched to the fiery former Milan boss. Italian reports claim that Gattuso and Fiorentina parted ways due to a dispute over transfers, with his agent Jorge Mendes having recommended targets that the club were not keen to move on this summer. There is some talk in Italy that this sent me over the line today. I tweeted only in Spurs, and you could not write this. There's some talk in Italy that Fonseca could be in line to take over at Fiorentina to complete a crazy turn of events. So the man that we're throwing to the wayside to get in Gennaro Gattuso could be replacing Gattuso at Fiorentina, which is crazy because we only got him because Jose Mourinho was replacing him. It's honestly, it continues to baffle. It is beggars belief the way this club are going about this managerial search. It honestly, every single turn, every single new line that we get on this, it is absolutely baffling, and the club continue to fail the fans. And look, you can say what you want about maybe Fonseca was working behind the scenes, maybe Paratici's, but it is absolutely ridiculous that almost 2 months after sacking Jose Mourinho, we continue to bin off candidates that could actually be good for this club. As that comment said a while ago, I think it was Jack who said it, I was beginning to warm to Fonseca having properly researched him, his tactics, his philosophies. He has had, of course, failures in his past, but his successions as well in what he succeeded to do. I was starting to warm to him, and all of a sudden, what a man who's possibly the worst option, one of the worst options in world football, is now the leading candidate become. And Fabio Paratici, it's his first choice. I was delighted, absolutely delighted that Paratici came in, and I really felt he could bring a lot to the football club. But this is the worst possible start for him. That is putting it kindly. It is the worst possible start for him. Tottenham have faced a mess of a search for their new head coach, and it is now 2 months since Jose Mourinho was relieved of his duties in April. The club attempted to get Mauricio Pochettino back to the club, but could not prize him away from PSG. Then they held talks with former Juventus, Chelsea and Inter Milan boss Antonio Conte, only for those to suddenly collapse amid what was believed to be unrealistic demands from the Italian. Paratici's arrival then saw the original list of candidates drawn up by Spurs' technical performance director Steve Hitchen replaced by the Italians and led to the talks with Fonseca. Now, Fonseca, who was an underwhelming choice for many Spurs fans who had been hoping for either of the two previous candidates, had also been dispensed with despite advanced talks. Gattuso, with his own lack of managerial success outside that Coppa Italia win and sackings and resignations littered throughout his relatively short career in the dugout, it's unlikely to muster much excitement from the beleaguered Tottenham supporters, and his fiery nature would be an odd mix with the club's hierarchy. However, Spurs still have to get the deal over the line first, and that has proved to be impossible so far for a club that has lurched from one PR disaster to the next in 18 months. And I see a few people there saying Ali Gold tweeted again, so I'm going to take a quick look and see what Ali Gold himself has had to say. He said, even without looking at his management record, surely a quick Google search would have brought up Gattuso's previous comments about a range of subjects that Spurs have done some great work over the years in combating. After all the PR disasters, why would they want another one? And these are with regards to racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynistic comments that Gennaro Gattuso has made in the past. And this is where I simply cannot fathom how Spurs could even consider going down this route. Gattuso has so often in the past made ridiculous comments that has brought so much negative and just bad press towards him that he should not be allowed anywhere near the English game. Yet it could be our club or Tottenham Hotspur that are bringing him in. This man, again, racist, homophobic, misogynistic, sexist, any type of negative comment, any type of discriminatory comment you could think of, you can almost guarantee this man has said them. I reached out to the Proud Lilywhites earlier today, the official LGBTQ plus supporters group of Tottenham, and they said that while they're not going to comment on speculation, if this appointment does go ahead or something official comes out in it, they will guarantee and they can ensure us that the voices of the fans will be heard, and they will do their best to make Spurs not go ahead with this appointment, which is very good to hear. A group that do very, very, very good representation of Spurs fans, so they will do their bit on that one. It's honestly, like I said, it's beggars belief, and I think that is where those comments and all that is where the note of Gattuso has begun to trend more so than his managerial past, which, I mean, the fact there's something worse than what he does on the pitch is baffling. But that is where we are at the moment. Just to take a quick look at his managerial past. He was with Sion in France. He was sacked. He was with Palermo in Italy. He was sacked. He went to Crete in Greece. He left them. He then applied for Hamilton Academical, the Scottish side, and they turned him down for the job. He went to Pisa in Italy, finished bottom of that league. AC Milan, he failed to get Champions League with them. Napoli this season, like I said, a 1-1 draw last day of the season at home to Hellas Verona, and he got sacked from there. Then he went to Fiorentina, got another chance in this area, and he left after 22 days. That is the manager that Spurs have decided is the best candidate to bring us back to any bit of success. In management since 2013, and he's been at 7 clubs. In 8 years, he's managed 7 clubs, and not one of them was successful. Or, actually, that's 8 clubs, because on the list I'm looking at here, Fiorentina isn't even included because he didn't manage a game for them. 8 clubs in 8 years. Not one of them successful. Not one positive outlook to anything that Gennaro Gattuso has done as a manager, and Spurs want him. We are in free fall. We are in the worst position as a club that we have been on the pitch in 12 years. Not opinion, fact. For the first time in 12 years, we finished outside of the top 6 this season. And now we're looking at this man who has had nothing but failures lying in his wake as a manager. And Fabio Paratici, Daniel Levy, Steve Hitchen, whoever it was, has decided this is the man to rebuild Spurs. 8 days after the transfer windows opened. 8 days after Aston Villa had bought Emi Buendia, after Arsenal moved for Ben White, after Liverpool get Ibrahima Konate, after Manchester City moved for Kane, after Chelsea looked to get Erling Braut Haaland, after Manchester United come close to buying Jadon Sancho. Spurs don't have a manager. Big Six, forget about it. Forget about it. Leicester making some incredible signings, bringing in Boubakary Samari from Lille. They're in talks for Odsonne Edouard from Celtic. They're getting Patson Daka from Salzburg. And Spurs don't have a manager who can make signings. Just when you thought it couldn't get worse, and this is the worst part. For maybe the third or fourth time in the last month, I said at least they can't get worse for Spurs. And yet again, somehow it did. If we end up with Gennaro Gattuso, the outrage and the uproar from this fan base is going to be something that ENIC have never seen before, something that Daniel Levy has never seen before. If they were taken aback by the backlash when the news broke that they were in advanced talks with Paulo Fonseca, the second they see what is on Twitter, what is on social media right now, they will be somehow surprised that we don't want Gattuso as our next manager. As Alistair Gold said, hashtag no to Gattuso, currently trending on Twitter. I really don't understand how this club can do this. Harvican says, well done Spurs, all good standing in the football world is now gone. No serious manager or players will not consider Spurs now with the clowns running the club. Give it to Mason before Gattuso. And that brings up another good point. Another very, very important point. This is the last chance, the last summer we had to try and convince Harry Kane to stay, that this club was going places and that this was a beneficial situation for him to be in. Chris, thank you very much for subscribing. The last chance we had to convince the best player we have had in decades and decades and decades to stay at this club and to try and bring us to success. Yet all we are doing is forcing him further and further out the door because he knows, and everybody knows, this club is going down and it's going down fast. We get Gennaro Gattuso, we're lucky to finish in the top half next season. And I genuinely mean that. I cannot see any situation where Spurs have a positive year next year if Gennaro Gattuso is our manager. What player is going to want to join this team? Gennaro Gattuso has said insane, ridiculous things about his players, about opposition players, about any player in world football. And again, coming back to these discriminatory comments that he's made in the past, any slight chance that we had of getting the likes of Manuel Locatelli, Domenico Berardi, all these Italian players we're linked to, any Max Aarons or Tarek Lamptey, any player like that, any chance of getting them is gone. No one is going to want to play for this club. First of all, in the situation that Daniel Levy and ENIC are bringing us into, and even before you look at what's happening on the pitch, no one is going to want to join Tottenham Hotspur. No one. Why do the club continue to make things more difficult for them? They aim so high. So I do not for a second question Daniel Levy's ambition. He wants the best. He at times tries to get the best for the football club, but he simply is not capable of doing that. This is no longer for me a question of ambition and where his priorities lie. It's a question of his downright inability to do the job that he's the highest paid man in the Premier League to do. Giving himself a £3 million bonus for delivering a stadium 9 months late. The highest paid chairman in Premier League football right now. And he misses out on Pochettino, misses out on Conte, pulls out of the deal for Fonseca to bring in someone like Gennaro Gattuso. There's no positive spin on this. There's no positive spin whatsoever that anybody can put on this. Again, hashtag no to Gattuso is trending. If that doesn't tell you all you need to know, I don't know what does. And I'm seeing on Twitter, I've been on Twitter all day, and it's just a continuous whole string of Spurs fans and being absolutely furious, absolutely gutted. And for me, it's almost gotten to the point where it's not anger, it's not disillusionment, it's simply being heartbroken that this is happening to our football club. Alistair Gold tweeting 5 minutes ago, Daniel Levy told the Spurs fans during his end of season message, I feel we lost sight of some key priorities and what's truly in our DNA. Difficult to see how they haven't done that very same thing once again. A very good point from Alistair Gold. Exactly the things that Daniel Levy apologised for. He's gone back and done again. And like he said in that thing, something about hiring a manager who believes in the core traditions and core values of Spurs. Yet we're bringing in a racist, homophobic, sexist manager. Is that what Spurs is about? Is that what club we are? I can't think of any more words to really go on about this. Dankel Patrick tweeting 20 minutes ago, hashtag no to Gattuso now trending in the UK as Spurs fans express opposition to latest managerial target whose history of backward comments about women, same-sex marriage and racism. Given the pressure already on Levy, interesting to see where this goes. I don't think I've ever seen a point that we've gotten to, where the journalists, Spurs focused journalists like Dan Kilpatrick, like Alistair Gold, are giving sort of very personal and very strong opinions on the situation, and that is where we're at. You just simply cannot defend Daniel Levy. You cannot defend Enoch. You cannot defend Tottenham in what they are doing right now. There's an article here from spursweb.com, from Spurs website. I was going to take a quick look through because the title has drawn me in straight away, saying, Gennaro Gattuso, I have never been more ashamed of Spurs. He says, we've been taken on a managerial merry-go-round this summer, except no one asked to get on, and we're all feeling sick, and Daniel Levy is still pushing. It feels as if we have gone through a who's who catalogue of big names in the world of football, only to land at the feet of Paulo Fonseca, an underwhelming appointment, but one many of us were warming to the more we researched him. And that's a very good point, and one that I completely echo. Is he prime Guardiola? No, but he plays attacking football, presses high, and gets bums off seats. Not a bad prospect for a couple of years after the past 18 months of Mourinho football, yet somehow, once again, talks have apparently fallen through. God knows how... So I dare say Matt Law tweeted, we'll get that in a second. God knows how talks with a small manager out of contract and on a free can fall through, but there we go. According to some reports, it was because Spurs had their head turned. Who turned their head? Poch? Conte maybe? Ten Hag? It was Gennaro Gattuso. Yes, the guy who tried to strangle Joe Jordan back in the Harry Redknapp years. Not only does Gattuso have a track record of being a bit of a hot-headed thug, a less than useful trait in a manager, but he also happens to be a rather disgusting individual. Case 1. In December 2013, Gattuso claimed that he didn't see a place in football for women when AC Milan chief executive Andrea Galliani agreed to share his role with Barbara Berlusconi. What are our female fans meant to think of that? What are Tottenham Hotspur's women's team meant to think of that? What are Rebecca Capelhorn and other senior board members meant to think of that? Spurs cannot actively back this man. Case 2. Also in 2013, Gattuso hinted that white players getting booed was no worse than racist chanting. When former teammate Kevin Prince Boateng walked off the pitch due to racist chanting, Gattuso dismissed it and claimed that, quote, there are no racists there. What are our black players meant to think of that? What are our minority fans meant to think? Spurs cannot actively back a man who dismissed racism. Case 3. Across his career, Gattuso was proven to act first and think later when it comes to lashing out. In 2013, he was sent off for slapping Ibrahimovic. In 2011, he was sent off for strangling and headbutting Joe Jordan, Tottenham's assistant manager. He's also had slapping incidents with David Beckham and Marcelo Lippi. Even beyond his failures as a decent person, Gattuso also has a shocking managerial record. The stats going around on Twitter today are Sion sacked after 3 months, Palermo sacked after 3 months, OFI Crete resigned twice, Pisa resigned twice, AC Milan left with mutual consent after 1.5 years, Napoli sacked after 1.5 years, Fiorentina resigned after 22 days. And that doesn't even bring into consideration the comments that Gennaro Gattuso made about same-sex marriage when he said it just doesn't have a place in his world and all that stuff. We'll go check Matt Law's tweet now just to see what he's had to say on the situation. Is we have 500 people watching live, so as I'm getting this tweet, please do hit that like button if you're as furious as I am and as every other Spurs fan is about this potential appointment. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as well if you are new to the channel to get more content like this. We're on the road to 10k before the season starts. I'd really appreciate any support on that one. And Matt Law says, given how they promised to listen to fans after the European Super League debacle, it will be interesting to see how Tottenham react to the #NoToGattuso hashtag. Certainly more questions than answers around their interest in him. Think they should have stuck with Fonseca having gone so far. Fully agree there with Matt Law. And the question that I would ask now is, if Spurs decide to listen to the fans, which I'm quietly optimistic that this deal won't happen, but right now what we're hearing is it will. So I'm absolutely furious. But if this deal doesn't happen, can we then go back in for Paulo Fonseca? Will he even entertain the idea of going back into negotiations with Spurs and with the people at this club if he has been treated the way he was in the first instance of this deal? I really don't know where Spurs could possibly go from there. We may have missed out on the option that, again, isn't the ideal one. The option that we didn't actually really want to see. But when we looked into it and when we started to see exactly what he could offer to us, it did kind of have that feeling of, well, look, maybe he's not Pochettino, he's not Conte, but he could be a decent option. He could actually be one that could bring this team places. Again, in terms of the fact that he plays attacking football. He, has some kind of values that Spurs have as a club, and there was a bit of sense to that. And Alistair Gold tweeted something similar earlier. He says, while he was underwhelming compared to others, I understood the idea of Paulo Fonseca, his way of playing, and how he would fit into this current Spurs setup. Gennaro Gattuso, with his combustible nature, track record, and some dodgy views, seems like more chaos waiting to happen. And again, hits the nail on the head right there. There simply is no sense in this deal happening. There's absolutely nothing that you can tell me about this. Nothing. Orlu there says Gattuso's a very tactical coach. His tactics are underrated. If his tactics are underrated, how did he fail to get AC Milan into the Champions League? How did he fail to get Napoli into the Champions League? How did he get sacked by Sion after 3 months, by Palermo after 3 months? How did he resign twice from his next two clubs? If he is a very good tactical coach, if his tactics are underrated, his results on the pitch would show that. And even beyond what he does off the pitch, if he was the most successful manager in history, if he had more trophies than Sir Alex Ferguson, a better record in finals than Jose Mourinho, won more trophies than Pep Guardiola, all this, all that, I wouldn't care, because of who he is as a person, because of what he represents, because of his beliefs, his values, and what he thinks is acceptable to say in a public forum. Simple. That right there is enough to say no to this manager. But it's not even in some way subsidised by the fact that he's good on the pitch, because he is simply not. Jonathan Adair with the €5.50 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Jonathan. Says, I love my club, but can't and won't support them if they are led by sexist, racist, homophobe, Levy must listen, worrying or eat Paratici's judgment. And again, couldn't agree more, Jonathan. Couldn't agree more. I've said the whole way through the Fonseca thing, when we thought we may be getting Graham Potter, when even Scott Parker was being mentioned, I said, whatever manager comes into Spurs has no bearing on my qualms and my kind of concerns with the board. I can hate the board, I can want them out and all that. However, I'm not going to let that affect my support of the manager. If we got in Scott Parker, if we got in Graham Potter, if we got in John Doe from down the road, I would have supported him as the manager of Spurs, who wants the success that we want, who is simply coming in to try and win with Spurs. I said whatever manager comes in, I would support him. And somehow, Spurs have managed to find a man that proves that statement untrue. One of the very, very few men in managerial roles in football right now that I simply cannot and will not support as Tottenham manager, and Spurs have managed to go out and find him and try and make him the manager. Aaron says, Maddie spitting facts. I try, but thank you for the kind comments there, Aaron. As well, Jonathan, thank you very much for that super chat. And like you say, worrying Ori Paratici's judgment. Like I said earlier in the stream, I was a fan of Paratici, and I was absolutely delighted to see him come into the club. I thought he was so successful at Juventus. He was such a key part of their success there. He has a very good record in terms of recruitment and stuff. But if this is the first thing he does at the club, if the first thing he does is bring in Gennaro Gattuso as our manager, he's done immediately. He is done immediately. And it is as simple as that. Eddie says, don't believe everything you read, lads. Can't see Spurs stooping that low. It doesn't seem logical at any level. It's not a case of believing everything we read, but it's every single reliable source telling us this could happen. It's Romano, it's DiMarzio, it's Alistair Gold, it's everyone who knows what is going on with Spurs, or who is being told what's going on with Spurs. I don't think anyone actually knows what's happening right now. But it's more than believing what we read. There's nothing to suggest that this isn't 100% true. And again, that is one of the biggest concerns. And again, I'll come back to what that means for recruitment and what that means for any potential transfers that Spurs might make, that Spurs might try and make. Everything is up in the air now. Calcio Mercato reporting in the last 30 seconds or so, Gennaro Gattuso is one step away from becoming the manager of Tottenham. So Calcio Mercato claiming this deal is very, very nearly done. Some other reports in Italy suggest that a deal has already been done. This contract has been offered. Daniele Longo from Calcio Mercato as well saying it's very close to joining Tottenham Hotspur. And look, it's just more and more ridiculous, upsetting stories. Martin with the 220 or 230 super chat. Martin, thank you very much for that. Says this is very tough for you, lad. Look after yourself. I'll try, Martin. Thank you very much for the concern. I really, really do appreciate that. My only saving grace right now is that I really can't see Spurs going ahead with this, with the backlash that they faced on social media today. Look, the very fact that they would even entertain the possibility of this appointment and actually actively try and get this done is concerning, and it's really, really upsetting as a Spurs fan. But Martin, thank you very much for the concern. I do really appreciate that. Chase Quinn with the £2 says, Batman for manager, just heard he's turned us down. Look, we already lost Sorrow. Lives in Batman as well. But Chase, thank you for the super chat as well. Look, I think if we did go for Batman, he's got a reputation to uphold. I don't think he'd stoop that low, to be honest. Officer Doofy says, let's all just face it, it's happening. Cheers for the content, Matty. My pleasure to provide the content. And I can't yet, I really can't accept that this is happening just yet. I think if we all felt that this is going to happen, if we, straight out accepted that, I think we might as well just pack it in right now, and might as well just give up, because this is an appointment that, again, there's no positive to it. You can't defend it. You can't find anything about this that reflects Spurs in a positive light, that means anything positive to Spurs. This is the end of us on the pitch for quite some time, and it is also the end of us off the pitch to some extent as well. We are honestly in a situation that we were so close to getting Conte and Poch and all this, and there was actually a bit of positivity around Spurs. There's a bit of positivity, a bit of, we have a sense of direction, and now all of a sudden, this is what Spurs are trying to appoint. This man, again, regardless of what happens on the pitch, off the pitch, he is not a man that we will accept as a representative of Tottenham Hotspur. He was not a man that we will accept as the manager. He does not represent the values that Daniel Levy promised us our new manager would represent. Everything that is wrong with certain people in football, Gattuso is. Let's Talk Tottenham podcast has tweeted, we'll appoint a manager, or a quote from Levy, we'll appoint a manager that represents the values of the club. And then Gattuso thinks women shouldn't be involved in football. We have a ladies team that we are proud of. He doesn't like same-sex marriage. We advertise pride on our shirts. Has to be a joke. And I'm honestly almost speechless. I'm honestly almost speechless that this is what it has come to. This is Spurs, ladies and gentlemen. This is what Tottenham Hotspur have become. Reports tonight suggesting that Gennaro Gattuso is very, very close to becoming the next Spurs manager. We've dropped talks with Paulo Fonseca, and it looks as though Spurs are on the down in way more ways than one, and it is absolutely heartbreaking to see. And I don't think there's any other way to put that. Gennaro Gattuso in advanced talks to become the next Spurs manager, with Gianluca Di Marzio suggesting a deal is almost agreed. Please do hit that like button if you're as frustrated as I am. I appreciate everyone popping in and all that. Liam Donovan with a £2 super chat says, won't last 22 days at Spurs, make your voices heard. And that's exactly the message that we need. Make your voices heard. Tweet hashtag no to Gattuso. Tweet your opinion. Put it on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. We need to get our voices heard. This man simply cannot represent Tottenham Hotspur. He cannot be our next manager, and we as fans need to stop that from happening. We can't let it. I don't know how many times I can say it. We just can't let this happen. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Let's see what the numbers were like. We've had nearly 2,500 people tuning in over the last 36 or so minutes. Please do hit that like button on your way out. We're on 162. Let's see if we can get that to 200. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the new subscribers and all that. We'll be back on hopefully tomorrow with a stream tomorrow night, but we've got a very, 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 very big one coming up on Saturday with a very special guest that I'm looking forward to announcing tomorrow. So hit that subscribe button if you want to make sure you don't miss that, and hit the hit the notification bell as well, so you get notified every time I upload or go live. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.